The servers holding humanity's memory are already running out of room. Magnetic tape backing them up decays into silence within a single decade. But scientists just found a storage medium built to outlast civilization itself. It's not silicon. It's not glass. It's the code of life, DNA. Every digital file, rewritten in the same 4 letters found inside your own cells. 1 gram could hold every photo ever taken inside a single drop of liquid. Hit subscribe because the way we save history just changed forever. Every year, humanity generates more digital data than physical storage manufacturers can possibly keep up with. In 2024, global data creation outpaced the total storage capacity being built worldwide. Most of that data lives inside data centers, massive facilities built to store our world. Those facilities alone now consume more electricity than entire countries, and demand is only accelerating fast. Cooling systems, constant retrieval, endless power draw, none of it comes cheap or clean. Even worse, the medium backing up most of that data was never built to last. Magnetic tape, the industry's go-to backup method, physically degrades within just 10 years. Scientists call this creeping crisis the digital dark age, files and history slowly turning unreadable. NASA learned this the hard way, nearly losing decades of Mars mission data to decaying tape. Hard drives fare only slightly better, rarely surviving more than 10 years without total failure. Every few years, archives must migrate everything to new hardware or risk losing it forever. That migration alone costs institutions billions of dollars just to keep old data readable. Meanwhile, the world's data output keeps doubling every few years with no ceiling anywhere in sight. The physical infrastructure supporting all of it is reaching limits nobody planned for in advance. Something had to give, either the growth of data or the way we store it. Researchers looked past silicon entirely and found their answer inside biology itself. That answer had existed in every living cell all along: DNA. Life's original hard drive. Here's the strange part. Your data was never really data. It's always just been code. Every photo, video, and document is just a sequence of ones and zeros arranged in order. DNA works the exact same way, just written in 4 letters instead of 2 digits. Engineers assign each pair of digital bits to one of DNA's 4 chemical bases. A synthesis machine then builds real physical strands of DNA matching that exact digital sequence. Because DNA is fragile chemically, engineers add built-in error correction to fix random mutations. Redundant copies of each file are synthesized automatically, guarding against any single strand failing. Data gets split into thousands of short fragments, each tagged with its own digital address. Those address tags let software reassemble files correctly, even if fragments arrive completely out of order. One company, Atlas Data Storage, just built this process directly onto a silicon microchip. That chip uses thousands of microscopic electrodes to write DNA strands with incredible speed and precision. Partnering with chipmaker IMEC, Atlas scaled this process using standard semiconductor manufacturing equipment already available. The DNA Data Storage Alliance now coordinates dozens of companies standardizing this exact encoding process. A shared universal format is their ultimate goal, keeping archives readable decades from now. Once written, the DNA is dehydrated and sealed away, needing no power whatsoever. It can sit in storage for centuries, completely stable without a single watt of electricity. To read the data back, scientists simply sequence the DNA using standard lab equipment. Software converts each identified letter directly back into precise binary code. The result? Your exact original file, fully intact, recovered from a molecule instead of metal. Bill Banyai spent over a decade chasing an idea most people thought was pure science fiction: Long before founding Atlas, he co-founded Twist Bioscience, pioneering the manufacturing of synthetic DNA strands. Twist built specialized silicon chips capable of synthesizing DNA faster and cheaper than any lab method. Banyai believed that same chip technology could eventually store humanity's data, not just biological research. In May 2025, Twist spun that vision into its own company, Atlas Data Storage. Atlas raised over $155 million in seed funding to bring the idea to life. The new company recruited storage industry veterans, including a former Nimble Storage chief executive as CEO. 7 months later, in December, Atlas unveiled its first product, Eon 100, to the public. They chose to reveal it at the Association of Moving Image Archivists conference in Baltimore. Instead, it was archivists in the crowd, the ones fighting to save vanishing footage daily. For them, decaying tape isn't a distant statistic, it's old film crumbling in their own vaults. Banyai's product offered something they'd never had: centuries of storage without constant, costly migration. Not everyone in that room walked away convinced the technology was ready for real-world use. Skeptics pointed to Catalog, a rival DNA storage startup that collapsed into bankruptcy months earlier. Banyai argues Atlas is different, built on proven chip manufacturing instead of fragile lab-scale processes. Professor Thomas Hines of Imperial College London says he still wants to see independent performance data. Believer or skeptic, one thing united that room: the demand for a real solution is undeniable. Every archive lost to decay is a piece of shared human memory gone forever. That risk is exactly what pushed Banyai to keep building, decade after decade, chip after chip. Let's talk about the actual numbers, because DNA storage claims can sound almost too good to be true. Atlas Eon 100 packs 60 petabytes of data into roughly 60 cubic inches of physical space. That's about the size of a small liquor bottle, holding 660,000 full-length 4K movies. Matching that same amount with LTO-10 tape would require 25,000 kilometers of reels. That's enough tape to stretch more than halfway around the entire planet Earth. Overall, Atlas claims its system is roughly 1,000 times denser than today's best magnetic tape. Writing speeds still lag behind, though. Ordering custom DNA currently takes 2 to 8 business days. Reading costs remain steep, too, running about $30 for every 250 gigabytes recovered. Some early systems have taken up to 25 minutes just to recover a single stored file. But DNA has one unmatched advantage: duplication. A single strand can be copied millions of times. Using enzymes, researchers can generate 1 billion identical DNA copies in just a few hours. That makes redundant backups nearly effortless compared to duplicating data across physical hard drives. Atlas also claims sequencing costs are falling 1,000 times faster than Moore's law for computer chips. If that pace holds, DNA storage could become dramatically cheaper within just the next few years. Analysts already project the DNA storage market could grow from under $200 million today to over $44 billion by 2034, an almost unbelievable 88% yearly growth rate. Still, the DNA Data Storage Alliance itself says archival use at scale is still 3 to 5 years away. The technology is real and improving fast, but it hasn't fully arrived just yet. Overall, the numbers point to something historic, just not something instant yet. There's also an environmental angle. A shoebox of vials could replace an entire warehouse of racks, meaning near zero cooling costs, near zero energy draw, and no routine hardware replacement. Step back far enough, and this isn't really a story about storage. It's about memory itself. Every civilization eventually loses something: a library, a language, a generation's worth of memories. DNA storage offers something no previous medium ever could: genuine permanence measured in millennia. That permanence matters more than ever, now that artificial intelligence depends entirely on massive training datasets. Losing the datasets that train today's models could mean losing the ability to rebuild them. Atlas explicitly markets Eon 100 as a way to preserve those exact AI models permanently. But permanence raises a harder question. Who actually decides what gets preserved and what gets left behind? Museums and governments are early customers, meaning wealthy institutions get to curate history first. Smaller archives, local historians, and underfunded communities may not afford this technology for years. That creates a real risk. History preserved unevenly, shaped by whoever can pay for permanence. There's also a stranger concern buried inside the science. Synthetic DNA itself is dual use. The same machines writing archival data could theoretically synthesize dangerous genetic sequences if left unregulated. That's why gene synthesis companies already screen every order against databases of known hazardous sequences. As DNA storage scales up, that screening infrastructure becomes more critical, not less important. Then there's a purely technical worry. Will anyone centuries from now even remember how to read it? Digital formats already vanish within decades. Floppy disks, old file types, forgotten software standards. DNA could easily suffer the same fate without a universal, permanent instruction manual attached to it. This is exactly why the DNA Data Storage Alliance is racing to standardize the format now. Their goal, a format any future civilization could decode even without today's specific technology. Meanwhile, the industry itself is still proving it can survive its own growing pains financially. Competitor catalogs' collapse showed that promising lab science doesn't always translate into a working business. Atlas insists chip-based manufacturing avoids that trap, but only time and real customers will confirm it. There's an environmental trade-off worth naming honestly, too. DNA synthesis still relies on chemical reagents and labor. It's not zero impact, just a dramatically smaller footprint than power-hungry data center warehouses. None of this makes DNA storage a replacement for the data centers running our daily lives. It's a cold archive, built for the data we rarely touch but can never afford to lose. Active files, live applications, and daily computing will stay right where they are for now. What changes is the deep freezer beneath it all, the layer holding humanity's irreplaceable long-term memory. Get that foundation right, and future generations inherit an accurate, unbroken record of our world. Get it wrong, and we simply repeat history's oldest mistake, losing the very things worth remembering. Right now, that choice is being made quietly, inside labs and boardrooms most people never see. But the outcome of that choice will outlast every person currently making it by thousands of years. Humanity's memory just found a home built to outlast us all. Before Atlas, storage always meant more silicon, more servers, and more electricity. Now the future of memory might be small enough to hold in one hand. That's not science fiction anymore. It's already happening in labs today. Somewhere in a lab right now, another archive is already being written into DNA. The question isn't whether this technology works, but how fast the world adopts it. Reels of magnetic tape degrading in vaults today may soon be replaced by a molecule. Hit like, share this with someone, and subscribe to SynthCosmos. We cover the science reshaping our world as we know it every single week. We'll see you in the next one.